What up, y'all? My name is Eddie Islas, and welcome to another edition of Martinete Productions. And yes, this is gonna be an English edition for all my English subscribers. I know that ever since I did a couple videos with Tanner from WWE Fan Talk Show, who I like to send a shout out to, I've been getting a lot of his subscribers on my channel. And well, in order for me to cater to you guys and to give you guys content that you guys could understand also, I decided to make a couple English videos, and this is gonna be one of them. I'm gonna be talking about my favorite professional wrestlers in of all time. Honestly, I've done this video in Spanish before, but in that case, I talked about my favorite luchadors, and it was mostly about my favorite Mexican luchadors. But in this case, I'm going to be talking about my favorite professional wrestlers, American wrestlers of all time. And this video will be very WWE heavy, will be very like TNA heavy. It's just a way for me to cater and to thank you guys for subscribing to my channel. But before that, before I give you my top three, I'm gonna be listing a couple names that I really like, a couple wrestlers that I really whose work I really enjoy, and well, that's all gonna lead up to my top three. But first of all, let's talk about the honorable mentions, the ones that couldn't make it in the top three. One of my favorite wrestlers of all time, and because I haven't been really watching, I started watching wrestling in 2002. I mostly focus on lucha libre Mexican wrestling before that, the time before that, and I was born in the early 90s. But as of 2002, I started watching professional wrestling, and one of my favorite wrestlers at that time was RVD. Now, RVD had a very unique style. He was a high flyer. He had some great moves, and he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time because of like the uniqueness of his character and all the stuff he could do in the ring. Like nobody else could match him. Another wrestler that really caught my eye when I first started watching American wrestling was Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy is one of the best high flyers. He's got a very unique style. And honestly, to me, that match he had with RVD at Invasion 2001 was actually what put him on the map for me because to me, Jeff Hardy is just one of the greatest, period. Another wrestler that I think was pretty underrated and I think should have accomplished way more than he accomplished was the alpha male, Monni Brown. Now, if you guys remember TNA in about '05, maybe '04, Monni Brown was the man in TNA. He had one of the greatest finishers I could think of, which is the pounce. If you guys haven't seen it, I'm gonna leave you a link down here so you can check out what the pounce is. He actually made it to WWE, but I don't think they were able to use him as properly as he should have been used, and for that he retired at an early age. But oh my God, TNA Monni Brown, the alpha male, was the greatest. Perhaps one of the greatest wrestlers I have ever seen. He had everything. He had the mic skills. He had the charisma. He had the moves, and he even had one of the greatest finishers I can think of, which is the pounce. And if we could go back to 2002, 2003, let's talk about the next big thing, Brock Lesnar. This guy in those years was the total package. Oh my God. If you could think about perhaps the most dominant wrestler of that era, Brock Lesnar definitely comes to mind. And even these days I don't really like him as much as I used to like him back in the day. He was the total package. He had the strength, he had the speed, he had the durability, and I think he's really underrated when it comes down to his mic because back in like 2003 when he used to get in this like promo wars with Paul Heyman, and he could really hold his own. And I think he's really underrated in that and in that skill and this mic skills. But Brock Lesnar, one of my favorites. And well, I can't really list my favorite wrestlers of all times and leave behind Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He has shown time and time and time again that he has what it takes to stay on top of his game and even reinventing himself just time and time and time again. He's just a timeless wrestler, and he's gonna continue to reinvent himself as long as he has a career, as long as he's wrestling. And for that, Chris Jericho, you're one of the greatest. And now it's time for me to talk about my top three favorite wrestlers of all time. Number three, the Rabbit Wolverine, Chris Benoit. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. How can I really like this guy after all he did and all the suffering he caused his family and a lot of other people? But you know what? I'm one of the guys that could differentiate the wrestler from the man. And I never knew the man. I never knew what demons he had, but the wrestler was a great wrestler. I mean, who doesn't remember those classic matches with Kurt Angle, with Chris Jericho, with Eddie Guerrero? Those matches are pretty much legendary. Those are legendary matches, and unfortunately, he tainted his legacy, but nobody could take away those great matches that he had. He was one of the greatest. He was perhaps one of the greatest technical wrestlers of all time. And he will forever be in my top three favorite wrestlers of all time. The Rabbit Wolverine, Chris Benoit. Number two, the Olympic gold medalist, Kurt Angle. Now, to me, when I first started watching American wrestling, when I made the transition from Mexican to American wrestling, Kurt Angle always caught my eye. He was always one of the greatest. I mean, to me, he was the most technician wrestler. He was great. He had a great character. He had a great look. He had a great gimmick. I mean, he could talk on the mic. He was a bit of a prick during those years, and he was just freaking amazing. There's nothing not to like about Kurt Angle. He got like the greatest move. He got one of the greatest movesets that I could think of. He had some legendary matches against Chris Benoit, legendary matches against Brock Lesnar. He had good matches with Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, but oh my God, Kurt Angle, those matches he had with Shawn Michaels were just off the hook. So Kurt Angle, my second favorite wrestler of all time. And now comes number one. And to me, this is the wrestler that influenced me perhaps the most. I don't know if you guys know this, but when I wrestle, my character is called the Straight Edge Street King, and that's because of CM Punk. Well, CM Punk he's my favorite wrestler. He is a great technical wrestler. He even does a little bit of high flying. He's pretty well rounded, submission, and he is gold on the mic. This wrestler is actually he's my second favorite talker because nobody could touch The Rock, but but CM Punk came real close, especially in that feud he had with him. It was great. And honestly, to me, CM Punk is one of the most it's my biggest influence in professional wrestling. And I know a lot of people hate him as well, but you know what? To me, everything he every all those years watching all those years watching CM Punk really influenced my character personally, and pretty much he kept me watching wrestling because I haven't really been watching that much WWE since he left. He kept me hooked to professional wrestling for the years he was on top. Well, this was another English video from all my English speaking subscribers. I really appreciate you guys, and I really like that I could actually cater to you guys. So if you like the video, give it a like. Leave me in the comments who your favorite professional wrestlers are, and I'll see you in the next English video of Martinete Productions.